Okay, so while I was on a roll, I thought it would be wise to do a bit of an update video. I am seriously considering staying on YouTube, coming off TikTok, coming off Instagram. I'm so done with being attached to my phone with this horrible excuse of work. I don't know whether I'm going to commit to coming off of Instagram and TikTok altogether, but I certainly want to move things over to Substack. I have been working on Substack for a couple of months now. I released my series, my weekly series, Notes on Becoming and Mythos Medium on there. And I've really been enjoying the content in the way that it is informative, creative, worth my time. Feels like it's a bit more worth my time than scrolling through endless TikTok and Instagram videos trying to hit something like valuable. I'm just over it. If you haven't been on Substack and you don't know Substack, I highly recommend it. It was originally, I believe it was originally a writing platform for authors to put their work out, but their setup has evolved to link in with YouTube and allow videos to be uploaded. There's a note system on there, which is a bit like, daily pop-up stories, maybe. It's like the story, Instagram story equivalent, but in writing form. You can put videos up as well. It lends itself really well to collaboration, and it doubles up as a newsletter for people. So, I'm on Flowdesk. I've been using Flowdesk for my work, and that is before I realized Stack was a thing and existed, and how I'm, kicking myself. Substack peeps. I think it's a little bit like Medium, if you've ever been on Medium. I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it for the book content on there. I'm really enjoying it for the academic writing on there. It's a lot more thorough in its content. I keep saying the word content, but you know what I mean. I'm very big into herbalism. There are some incredible resources and creators on there for herbalism as well. There's rare book buyers and rare bookshop owners. There are authors. It's far more my vibe. And to be honest, it's making me feel like maybe I feel like the baby of the class a little bit on Substack. Like I might be a little bit out of my depth, but I'm really happy on there. And when I go onto Substack, I'm sorry, I will mute that. When I go onto Substack, I feel good when I'm on it. I don't feel like I've wasted hours of my time, right? I haven't fallen down the rabbit hole of endless doom scrolling. Yeah. So the reason I wanted to come on here is to say that I have released 2 free series. That one was very intentionally written, spaced out over a whole year, and it's a weekly series called Notes on Becoming. And every week there is an essay, a tarot spread, or journaling prompts, however you want to work, and then a very, very small spiritual practice. And the whole year is written for either solitary practitioners or people with a syncretic path, i.e., they borrow from many different lineages. They themselves might hold many different lineages. And I think when you're in that space, these are both spaces that I sit within. I'm very much in the overlap of the solitary and syncretic. And when you are in that space, you don't necessarily have elders, people to go to, people to share things with. And so the whole series was about setting up the foundations for a stable, consistent practice that is supportive, that allows for presence over performance and having to jump to other people's demands. It honors the messy, evolving, questioning, curious side of life. And the idea was that it would drip feed little bits of information, little things to consider, to practice, to explore throughout a whole year. So one post every Sunday for a whole year. That's called Notes on Becoming. It's totally free, by the way. It's just something that I have been working on that I wanted to do. I'm also considering other avenues for the Notes on Becoming series as well. There's another series, another free series. It's free because it's just a bit of fun. It's called Mythos Medium, and it is me responding to pop culture, movies I watch, interviews I watch, books I read, art pieces I love, etc., etc. And it is my response to them. I love reading books, but I don't really have the skills or experience or knowledge for literary analysis. I would love to have a book series on here, but I don't feel like I'm verbally capable or informed enough to really pull a book apart. I sort of know if I like it or if I don't like it. If I don't like something, I'll know why I don't like it, but I'm not very good at labeling when I do like something. It just falls into the realms of, I love it, makes me feel good, right? So I suppose it started out as a way of me exploring narratives through tarot. I started trying to create spreads based on the themes of a movie I watched or a book I read. And I felt like that gave me an avenue to then explore those narratives further and respond to them in my own way. And also maybe consider not only why I resonate with those stories, but what they're bringing to me, why it is I'm intrigued or interested in them, and what I might be missing from them as well. So it gives me a way in to analyze things a little bit deeper that sits in my own realm of capabilities, I suppose. So it's just a fun little thing. Sometimes they end up being more serious than I realized they would. I recently did one on Circe, the book Circe. And, when you delve into the themes of Circe is one of my favorite books. I absolutely adore that book by Madeline Miller. And when you delve into the themes and the tropes and the general, I suppose, discussion points of the book, you realize actually it's quite deep. And I'm starting to see this theme that I was just liking things because I was liking them. And actually, I'm drawn to all these deep questions that are resonating within me and my previous experiences. Right. So they're obviously relatable. I've got a post coming up on the Mythos Medium series, I think next Friday. I think they're released every Friday or Saturday, depending on when I can do it and when I can release it, but every weekend. In response to Madonna's interview with Jay Shetty. Now, that post took me a day to write, and it is so massively edited. And I really struggled with it to the point where I thought I might not do this. I might just not. It brought up a lot of questions about my past, avenues I took myself, thoughts and considerations around current queries around Madonna's spiritual practice. Not that I have a problem with Madonna's spiritual practice at all, but certainly the people that are linked to her particular teachings, you know. So I really had to consider whether I was going to be controversial, whether I was going to jump on that bandwagon and, you know, bring some flame to the party, or whether I would maintain the series as a light, happy, you know, it's me trying to inject a little bit of fun. You know, we're responding to pop culture, we're responding to things that we go to, that we look for happiness, joy, escape. We look for escape in. So I didn't really want to bring the mood down with this really heavy post, but at the same time, I really didn't want to not respond. So it'll be interesting. I feel like I need to write the post I want to write and maybe put it on my website somewhere, down a deep dark path on my website. And then people that are interested could probably find it there. I'm not sure, but I wanted to stay true to the fact that this was supposed to be like the light-hearted weekend. You know, for me, it's like a kid getting the fun day times or whatever. You know, getting fun day times thrown at you by your granddad on the weekend. That's sort of what I was going for. I wanted to inject a little bit of fun. I know I keep saying it, but I think I really did get wrapped up, and I am still very wrapped up in current affairs of the world at the moment, and I am struggling to verbalize, make sense of, process, be okay with how little I can actually do. I'm not okay with any of it. I'm livid at everything. I've never wanted to exit planet Earth more than I have now, you know. I'm not jumping on the Elon bandwagon, by the way, don't worry. But you know what I mean? Like, there was another option. I don't know. It's such a huge conversation, and I get wrapped up and drawn into it. And I actually wrote a workbook on it, because I kept coming up against people that were struggling with the same thing, spiritual practitioners that were really struggling to hold space for all the trauma in the world right now. And so I wrote a workbook called Tarot for the Hard Questions, again free, on my website, that explores your understanding and processing and consideration and stance and role when it comes to, you know, all the big questions. And I'm not just talking about like Gaza, genocide, things like that, but I'm also talking about identity issues. You know, I have got people that are directly related to me that are struggling with transgender issues, in the way that they're having to navigate really difficult decisions, knowing that, you know, certain things have been decided upon for safety of the masses because of one or two people that had to ruin it, you know, but also navigating the fact that they can't go out in public very much now because they can't use a toilet without getting completely harassed or provoked or started on by others. That's some serious restriction, right? It's also having an issue with, you know, work. And I mean, I could go on and on. If you're struggling with things like that, give Tarot for the Hard Questions a look. It might be interesting. It might be helpful. If it's not, no big deal. It's just something that I wanted to put out in the world as a possibility of hope and help. And community support. So there's that too. I'll put all the links down below. But yeah, this is really just a video to let you know that I am possibly going to be on YouTube a lot more, and Instagram and TikTok a lot less. I'm definitely moving over to Substack for the most part. I will be reformatting my classes and courses and teachings into the paid subscription level on there. It's just an easy way to offer that consistently without having to constantly work around individual promotion for every single new idea that I have. It's just a consistent thing. And then I will probably package up classes in groups and sell them on the website for people that don't want an ongoing subscription. I'm very aware that there is such a thing as subscription overwhelm, and people just don't want to have yet another damn subscription. So there will be that as well. That will be, you know, a side offering to those who want to do things on their own, not necessarily want to do it in a crowd. When I say do things, I mean take classes or whatever. But I think I've made the decision to do things pre-recorded, and then there'll be a chat, you know, there'll be a chat function where I will offer support through that. And that is probably how I'm going to proceed. I had a very huge issue with trying to navigate different times that people were available, you know, whether they've got the right, whether they've got a printer, whether they can be there. It was very difficult to navigate everyone's time differences. I myself have experienced that. You know, I take a lot of classes. One of my elders is in the US, and I have to stay up till 1 a.m. But I'm not going to argue with an 80-year-old. That's, you know, that's just not who I am or what I do. I will wake up and I will stay awake and I will show up and I will be there. But obviously not everyone has the luxury of being able to do that. And so I figure pre-recording classes, although it makes me feel like I am not as involved as I want to be, I'm not as present for people as I want to be. I'm going to try and just be as present as possible in the chat, and on email. You know, I am the sort of person that will respond pretty much instantly if I am messaged on any platform. So it's just me here. I'm a human, you know. I'm going to do that unless there's something really striking that needs my attention. So yeah, little update. I'm going to be putting on the tarot line classes onto Substack under the paid subscription. So that will be available for paid subscribers. And then from there, we are going into Ancestral Veneration at the end of October. And then in January, I'm going to have December off just because I've got a feeling by that point I'm going to be burnt out if I don't factor that in. And also it gives me time to like process and write new things. And then January, we're starting with the Esoteric Principles at the beginning of the year. And that's going to be really fun. I'm really looking forward to that. That is a big one for me. Yeah, smiley face. So yeah, so if you're interested, go to Substack. I've got the notes below, and I'm going to come back on here again soon. I've got a few decks I want to show you. I've got a few books I want to talk about in my limited, you know, capacity of literary analysis. And yeah, I hope to see you on here more frequently. Lots of love to you all. Be fabulous.